Welcome back to the I Knew a Guy segment, where I share real life stories from the world of real estate and mortgages. You know, after almost 4 decades in the industry, I've seen it all. All the surprising, the inspiring, and the what were they thinking moments. I'll let you behind the curtain with true stories of buyers and sellers and homeowners. Mistakes they've made, lessons they've learned, and most importantly, how my team has been able to help them turn things around. And if you're thinking, well, I knew a guy who ended up in a pickle, just like me. You're in the right place. Listen in, have a laugh, and maybe pick up a tip or two to avoid being the subject of my next story. Of course, all names have been changed to protect the innocent and the guilty.
I knew a guy. Let me go first, okay?
Okay,
I
you
knew
go
a guy.
first.
This is true.
You knew a guy before I knew a guy.
They're all these stories are true, which is good and scary. I knew a guy who had over 100 open credit card lines with balances on them.
100 credit cards.
I'm serious. 100 credit. At first, I thought this is weird. Maybe it was just a single person on his own loan, not like he had a co-borrower or something like that. 100 credit cards.
Did he have them all in his wallet? And he'd open his wallet and they would just fall down in
I
the
never
little...
saw the cards themselves, which
okay.
would be kind of cool, like off of a comedy or something. But I did see his credit report. And looking at this thing, I'm like, you're kidding me. I called him and he went down it and yeah, absolutely. They're all on auto pay. They're all current, no problems. And check this out. Even with 100 credit cards, he made good money. He just kind of wondered where it all goes, you know, like some situations like that. And so all of them are current, and on paper, he actually qualified with his debt ratios. That means a debt ratio, basically your gross income versus your gross outgo, and make sure you can afford to buy a house. Qualified on paper. Everything looks good so far, right? Then everything starts to go sour. We send this package in, and the particular underwriter working on it didn't like the fact that he had so many open lines of credit. And so they contacted him directly, which is weird because I'm their customer. As a broker, as a loan broker, I'm the customer of the lender, and I'm out shopping for my customers. But they called him directly, said, hey, you've got too many open lines of credit, and that's why we're not going to be able to. If you had less lines of credit open, we'd be able to do this. So I call him up because I get the email message. I call him up and leave a message for him saying, hey, I've got some answers for you. Give me a call back. Meanwhile, what I didn't know is right away, he went out and wrote checks to each of these. He cleared out his savings to pay off half of his credit lines. Now, that sounds cool to be down to about 50 credit cards. Wait, no, it doesn't sound cool yet. He paid off half of his credit debt, right? In the next 3 or 4 days, I'm leaving him messages. He's not calling me back. Finally, he calls me back and says, the reason I didn't call you back is because I was busy doing what the lender said. Oh my goodness, what did the lender say? I'm supposed to be telling you. He said, I paid off all this and I was able to clear out most of my savings to do it, but with my next paycheck, I'll have enough for that down payment. And instead of pulling my hair out, I just explained to him, wait a minute, how much do you have totally? Because see, what he had done was he liquidated his reserves that most lenders require you have a few months of reserves to get a loan qualification. In other words, if something went really bad, you can still make your house payment for a couple months. That's what they're looking for. Meanwhile, the 3 or 4 days when he's not answering my call, I'm a broker. I'm shopping this to other lenders. I found another lender, didn't care if he had 200 credit cards. As long as everything worked on paper, they couldn't find a reason to turn him down. And so I had another lender that was willing to totally do the loan. Now both of them are saying, no, we can't do it because you don't have the reserves. Oops. It took me almost a year.
He was trying to get in the segment. In the future, you're going to do I Knew a Guy segment. I want to be in that.
I want to be in that segment, guy. That's what they're... No. And so it took me almost a year working with this guy. And then he got his savings back up to where he'd have reserves and we could get him another approval and we got him a house. But there are 2 lessons here. First, don't have so many credit accounts. But second, give us a call before you make any of the wrong moves.
That's a really good idea. I had a client that I'll use in my I Knew a Guy story. It reminds me from what you're talking about. They came in to get a loan and buy a house, and we ran their credit, and they had credit scores that weren't quite sufficient enough to get to where we needed to get for the loan. And that happens sometimes. Not everybody has the credit scores that we need, but we looked at everything and I said, you know what? I think if you guys are willing to work at this, we can help you. We can help you get your scores up to where they need. Now, we are not a credit repair company. We're a mortgage company that wants to get a loan for our clients. And sometimes in order to get a loan for people, we got to help them with their credit. So they agreed, we're willing to go to work, we're willing to do what you say, as long as it doesn't cost us much money, and our services for that are free. So I put my staff to work. They came back with a 4-point plan. Said, do this to this account, and on down the line, your scores are going to go up 40 points each.
Because we can actually run a scenario that would tell us about where they do.
Yeah, part of our analysis is a computer program that'll say, this is what you need to do on each one of your accounts and how much money you're going to have to spend. And you can even say, I have $1,000 to pay off debt. Where should I put it?
Right.
And so this particular client, I gave them the 4-point plan. I walked them through it. I said, here's what you need to do. And they said, we're going to go right to it. And 2 weeks later, the husband came back in. He said, okay, we did everything. We are ready now to rerun the credit and see where our scores are. They're going to be up 40 points. We're sure of that. And so I ran their credit again, and there was no change whatsoever in their credit score. And I thought, okay, well, we didn't run it too early. That wasn't the problem, because my first thought was we jumped the gun a little bit. But no, that wasn't the case. And so I said, well, let me go get the plan that we had together, that we talked about. And we'll go over it again and make sure that each of those 4 items have been completed. And I'm starting to second guess myself, because you don't want to blame the client. You're thinking, okay, did I give this guy good advice? And the answer was yes, I did give the guy good advice. But we pull out the 4-point plan and we're looking at it. And I said, did you do this? No, no, we didn't do that. Next one, no, we didn't do that. Did you? No. I said, well, you've been gone 2 weeks. You said you did everything. What'd you do?
Right. What have they done?
What have they done? And they did a few things, but it was nothing that I asked them to do. And I said, well, the good news is you now have a plan. And if you do what I tell you, you're going to get the 40 points.
The same plan you gave them before.
Before, yeah, 2 weeks prior. The bad news is what you did might still come back and haunt you, because they'd paid off some accounts that might reactivate some negative credit and some things like that. And so he was really upset because they spent $2,500, which was more than I told them to spend. And I said, now you're going to have to spend I think it was $2,000 that I told you, and go do it. So over the next month and a half, they did that. We built his scores, went up like 70 points. Hers went up about 45 to 50 points. And we closed escrow and got him the house after all. But they had to listen to what we told them. And that's kind of the moral or the lesson to learn from this is, if somebody who is an expert gives you advice, it's kind of like the saying on Mythbusters, I'll steal from them. We're what you call experts, so listen to what we have to tell you. If we give you a plan, if you're willing to listen to it, do it. Don't go off on your own plan. And more importantly, probably, is don't listen to family who thinks they know the industry, and in the end, they're just going to lead you astray. So that's an I knew a guy I think everybody can learn from.
Good. If you want to not be one of those guys, give us a call so we can help you make all the right moves, right?
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of I Knew a Guy segment, where we turn real estate and mortgage missteps into your blueprint for success. And if you found today's story helpful or just enjoyed a good laugh at the expense of my past clients, don't worry, names are always changed to protect the innocent. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you like what you heard, leave us a review, hit that like button, and share this podcast with anyone who could use a heads up before their next big move. Got a story or question? Drop it in the comments and send it my way. I just might feature it next time. Until then, stay savvy, stay informed, and remember, it's always better to know a guy.